Dr. Botel, are you there?
Sorry, I'm here.
Okay, Mr. Evans, are you ready to get started?
You like to narrow in the scope. I am.
Okay, ready?
All right. So.
Good afternoon. I am Ms. Tawana Smith with the City of Riviera Beach. I will be your moderator for this evening's meeting. First, I'd like to thank the community for being here and also thank you to our staff. Moving forward, this is what you can expect tonight. We will have the meeting called to order by our chairperson, Dr. Botel, followed by the roll call by City Clerk, Ms. Claudine Anthony. We will have staff reports and then comments from our elected officials. Mr. Evans, you can have the floor now.
I'll take the floor. Thank you, Mr. Evans. Madam Clerk, I'll call to order the community COVID briefing. The date is October 1st, and the time is 6:31 p.m. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Ronnie Felder. Chairperson Julia Botel.
Here.
Chair Pro Tem Douglas Lawson. Councilperson Trodrick McCoy. Councilperson Kashamba Miller Anderson.
Present.
Councilperson Shirley Lanier.
Here.
City Manager Jonathan Evans.
Present.
City Clerk Claudine Anthony is present. City Attorney Don Nguyen. Here. Thank you. You may proceed, Dr. Botel.
Thank you, Mr. Evans.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and members of the City Council and members of the community for listening in. Obviously, we've seen a lot transpire since we issued the emergency declaration on March 20th. Governor DeSantis moved us into phase 3 on September 25th. Moving us into phase 3, all 67 counties, provided some significant challenge for Palm Beach County, as well as the
yeah, and it gives the students going through the program like a realistic example. It's not just a bunch of,
whoever is not going to ask someone to mute their phone.
If you're not speaking, go ahead and mute your phone.
So as previously stated, Governor DeSantis did move us into phase 3, which placed significant challenges on Palm Beach County and all 67 counties within the state of Florida. Based on the executive order that was issued by the governor, he alleviated a lot of the restrictions that were placed. Some of the things that were communicated in the executive order provided by the governor is the restrictions are no longer on any state level restrictions. No COVID-19 ordinance can prevent any business from operating or its employees from working. Local governments cannot impede or prevent certain restaurant activities, and was allowed for indoor capacity to increase at local dining establishments. Also, moving forward, it suspended any fines for COVID-related sanctions that could be levied based on previous actions that government entities did execute. Also, the governor did extend the opportunity for local governments to, and this was in a subsequent order, did allow for local governments to continue digital meetings until November 1st, but he did make the caveat that local governments must prepare to move to face-to-face meetings where physical quorums are going to be required in order to facilitate a public meeting, but the extension for digital meetings was provided. The City of Riviera Beach, what we've done as a result of bringing our employees back to work on September 28th, we enhanced our screening protocols as well as our cleaning protocols. We have suspended, for all intent and purpose, digital work opportunities, but we have allowed for flexibility with regards to operational needs of a department. So we still have modified scheduling over at our utility district and other operations to ensure continuity of government, and that we do have the capacity to respond in the event that a section of our workforce does get sick. But for all intent and purpose, we have most of our employees back to work operating in their normal capacities. We have acquired the appropriate PPE, personal protective equipment, as well as some of the physical barriers that we've put in some facilities, and making sure that we have enforced and adhered to actual physical distancing. They have moved away from the language utilizing social distancing and use the terminology physical distancing, and obviously making sure that all employees and individuals that are conducting business with the city are wearing the appropriate facial coverings. As we've moved to the phase 2 for the city of Riviera Beach, as someone moves, as we, somebody's phone is still rolling.
We're going to respectfully request that whoever has their phone open to mute their phone, please. If you're not speaking, please mute your phone. Ms. Smith, are you able to determine which phone that is?
No, I'm not.
All right, we'll try to.
No one has their phone open? Mr. Evans, I don't know who that could possibly be.
Okay, we'll certainly try to push through it. As it relates to our cleaning protocols, our safety protocols, we're doing this with the utmost employee safety in mind, as well as the public. We will be providing facial covers if somebody does choose to come into the building. We are making sure that folks do sanitize before they enter the building, and doing everything to ensure that they are not entering the interior of certain facilities unless absolutely necessary. With respect to special events and programs that are being considered, we're looking at rolling that out as part of our phase 3. Some of the recreational programs and activities that are contemplated will be looked at a case-by-case scenario and be reviewed by Chief Curd, myself, and additional public safety personnel to make sure that there are protocols in place for physical distancing, making sure people are wearing face coverings, no physical contact, and anything that we can do to have some type of normal event or activity without compromising the safety and well-being of the public. We have not moved into sports activities like other municipalities have, because we are still being very cautious as we move forward. One of the things that I think is very exciting, and Chief Curd can provide a little bit more insight and perspective on this particular matter as part of his presentation, the city of Riviera Beach has been the city of Riviera Beach has been informed about the possibility of vaccines being distributed throughout the state and throughout the county, for that matter. And the city of Riviera Beach has signed up for the possibility of being a site for the distribution of the vaccine when available. There is some protocols and procedures that have to be adhered to ensure that the vaccines are handled and managed in the appropriate fashion. Right now, the point person for that is Chief Curd, then followed by our Health and Human Services Section Chief, Ms. Grimsley, and then myself. So we are working with the appropriate agencies to facilitate once that is available. Once that information is available and how that will be handled as far as the distribution of the vaccine, we will make sure that we set up a process similar to that of the testing side that we did prop up as part of our response to COVID-19. We have at this particular moment 5 employees that have tested positive for COVID-19, but we have no hospitalizations. They are still being contacted by Human Resources to ensure that they are okay, and if there's any services that need to be provided by the agency, we're certainly available to assist in facilitating that. As it relates to face-to-face public business, we look to have our first regular city council meeting on October 7th. That will be in a physical format unless otherwise directed by the city council to stay on the digital platform. I know in some conversations that I've had with elected members, there is a desire to move into the physical meeting space, but the executive order does allow for the continuation of digital meetings, but staff is going to proceed forward with the physical meetings unless otherwise communicated or requested by the council to continue on a digital platform. As it relates to the community meetings, we are building out appropriate safety protocols. We are going to be having those meetings at the Marina Event Center. Staff has walked the facility, has put in enhanced screening protocols, enhanced cleaning protocols that will require the facility to be sanitized and sterilized prior to a public meeting, as well as immediately following. There will be separate entrances for elected officials and staff and separate entrances and exits for the public. There is also a capacity number that we have for the facilities that will be strictly adhered to. If the facility does not accommodate those, or cannot accommodate the number of folks that would like to attend the meeting in the main area of the Newcomb Hall, there is overflow in the Hatcher Ballroom, and then we do have a pager system that individuals can be in the parking lot and they can be paged in to deliver their citizen comments or to present to the council if they are with a firm that will be having an item considered for discussion. So we are working through the nuances associated with that. Additionally, we are in the process of creating a video that will be disseminated on the city's website as well as Channel 18 to communicate with the public exactly what to expect when they do come to a city council meeting. There is going to be protocols and procedures, and how we handle citizen comments and the like will all be communicated in that video that will be released early part of next week. So there's a lot of different things, a lot of moving parts associated with how we're going to do this safely and making sure that we can conduct business without a situation that calls for any concern for the public. So a lot of information there. We're consistently monitoring what's happening, and you'll hear from Chief Kurd a little bit about some of the things that we're monitoring and watching, because with us moving into phase 3 so quickly, inevitably we anticipate that there may be a spike related to the phase 3 reopenings, but obviously it does take some time for those numbers to register. So again, thank you so much for the opportunity to address you, Madam Chair, and members of the board. And Ms. Smith, I turn the presentation back over to you.
Thank you. Before we get into our operations report from Chief Kurd, I'm going to ask that everyone take your phone and make sure that you're muted until it's your turn to speak. Chief Kurd, you can proceed.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. Good evening, Riviera Beach Council. Mr. Evans, just wanted to start off with the numbers. I want to get into a little bit of what this phase 3, the Executive Order 244, Emergency Order 28 through Palm Beach County. So there's going to be a good bit of information. I'm always available to have further discussions with individuals, but I tried to do my best to kind of sift out all of the garbage and just bring the details. So starting off with the numbers, the state of Florida has seen a total of 709,144 cases of COVID-19 since the onset of the pandemic.
All right, so when do you approach that? So
please try and mute your phone.
Or I apologize. Okay, we'll work through it with 14,619 deaths. In Palm Beach County, 46,698 total cases with 1,383 deaths in our county. One of the numbers that we're monitoring, that we really like to focus on the daily positivity rates. There's a weekly average, and then there's a daily, which is always the prior day. So we'd be looking at Wednesday's average. In the state of Florida, last week's average was 4.8%. Yesterday, they were at 4.62%. In Palm Beach County, our weekly average last week was 3.76%, but yesterday we were at 4.26%. We have seen slight increases in the daily averages, but that was expected. With the phase 2, now phase 3 reopenings, with the universities and schools opening back up, inevitably we were going to see an increase. While this is a marginal increase, it is still a concern and something that we're watching very closely. When we deal with the city of Riviera Beach, I like to focus on the census tract information that really helps me get a little more granular into what's happening within our city. And I'm happy to say we are not experiencing any significant spikes, issues, or concerns in the city of Riviera Beach. There are some large concerns in central and especially in southern Palm Beach County, but in the city of Riviera Beach, we are seeing just a couple of cases a week in different areas throughout the city. And considering, it's in the 1, 2, and maybe 3 cases in some areas, it beats to 20 and 30 cases that we're seeing in some areas in southern Palm Beach County. So that's great information to report, and it's a testament to what we're doing in the community, adhering to those CDC guidelines, and I'm going to preach them over and over. One more death is too many deaths, so we really need to focus on what we need to do and not necessarily what our lawmakers or the state is telling us to do, because I'm not completely bought in. We've talked about Executive Order 244. Executive Order 244 issued by Governor DeSantis moves the whole state into phase 3. That was a decision that was made for the state as a whole, while we had a consortium in Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County because of our densities and populations. The governors just absolutely handcuffed us in these 3 counties and moved us into phase 3. Some of the highlights of what a phase 3 looks like is it provides for businesses the right to work and operate their business. It allows for 100% capacities in restaurants if businesses can show an economic impact. Well, clearly, any business will show that if they are not at 100% capacity, there is an economic impact associated with it. So basically, our hands are tied in regards to the percentages or the number of people that we can have within an establishment on that executive order. And here's something very interesting, and I ask that you pay attention because you will get a lot of questions, counsel, from your constituents. There will be a lot of questions to members of the city. There was a suspension and collection of fines and penalties associated with COVID enforced upon individuals. The key word is individuals. In Governor DeSantis's Executive Order 244, individuals can no longer be cited. So now let's talk about Emergency Order 28 issued by Palm Beach County. It repeals many of the existing emergency orders, but maintains a few of the following requirements, and there are 3 in particular that are points of focus. One is facial coverings. That existed in Emergency Order 12, and the enforcement portion existed in Emergency Order 17. Those are still in effect for Palm Beach County, and it requires businesses to ensure compliance with the facial covering mandates in Palm Beach County, and they must implement a process for verification of compliance upon the customer entering the business or establishment. Failure to comply will result in fine, penalties, and enforcement measures on the business or establishment. So when you look at the governor's executive order exempting individuals from being fined, Palm Beach County has put in a measure to not fine the individual, but to fine the establishment or the business. This is going to be nearly impossible to enforce. If you allow a business to operate at 100% capacities, we know that the physical distancing requirements in the Emergency Order 28, they're conflicting documents. So in Emergency Order 28, we've talked about the facial coverings. They also talk about the physical distancing requirements that are recommended by the CDC. And then they also reference the third, enhanced cleaning and disinfecting. They're looking at the measures of finding a business for not adhering to physical distancing, but the governor has allowed businesses to operate at 100%. So inevitably, there will be a conflict. Riviera Beach, and through Mr. Evans's guidance and understanding of the conflict, and working with Ms. Jacobs and Ms. Nguyen, our city attorney, looking at what this all means, our strategy is simply going to be to educate and advise our community and our businesses. Enforcement is going to be absolutely impossible. There is going to be litigation. We are going to be working with our COVID education compliance teams that are working very closely with Palm Beach County's team to really just look to educate and advise our businesses. It is the hopes in the emergency management group that I'm a part of that our community will self-police. If there's a business that's packing people in like a sardine, we ask that you not visit that establishment. Make them comply with a reduced level, maybe not less than 50%, but something in the middle where you can still have physical distancing, you can still have the requirements for the mask, and we ask our community to please comply with the mask mandate. There are arguments, you've seen the YouTube videos, you've seen the news stories, people not wanting to wear their mask, being defiant. I don't have to, you're violating my rights. No, you do not have to. But I am asking you, for the sake of public safety within our community, please comply with some of these mandates. As Mr. Evans mentioned, there is conversations in the emergency management group that is talking about the release of a vaccine. We have not been given a date. We do not have a time. But what we are doing is we are putting the pieces in place for distribution of the vaccine within our community and our community alone. Mr. Evans has authorized me to submit an application to the Department of Health and Palm Beach County's Department of Emergency Management for the city of Riviera Beach to become a closed pod, POD. That's a point of distribution. And what that's going to do is when a vaccine is released, and please be mindful, when a vaccine is released, it will be released in waves. Wave 1 will be for first responders, public safety, hospitals, things like that, nurses. Phase 2 will be essential personnel. Phase 3 will be the community. They can only produce the vaccine in such quantities so fast, so it will be a phased rollout. But the beauty is Riviera Beach will be given that vaccine, and we can do with that vaccine as we see fit for our community and our community alone. It will be a monumental undertaking. We will be distributing basically what is a drug to our community or injecting an inoculation or a vaccine, but we are prepared to take on that challenge and provide for our community, those that wish to be vaccinated, the ability to get vaccinated within their own community here in Riviera Beach. So we're excited to go through the process. It's quite an undertaking, but we're looking to tackle that challenge head on. I'll wrap up quickly with hurricane season and what we're watching in the tropics. We actually have a disturbance that's in the Western Caribbean seas. That disturbance is going to move over the Yucatan Peninsula and stay in the southern Gulf of Mexico. We also have a disturbance just east of the Lesser Antilles that is going to move into the Caribbean. We're going to monitor that. But other than the weather that we've seen through this front that is stalled on top of us, the localized flooding that you may be experiencing, the frequent lightning, there are no hurricane events that we need to concern ourselves with over the weekend. Just a very wet and soggy Florida weekend, as most of us are
Chief Kurt, and thank you to everyone who muted their phones. Next, we will have our logistics report by Ms. Tingle. Okay, we'll give her some time to get on. We'll go on to finance with Mr. Sherman.
Hi, this is Randy Sherman, Finance Director. Real quick update for this evening. Did want to let you know that the governor did not extend the moratorium on evictions. However, the CDC has a moratorium in place. They are slightly different, but again, it does provide some relief to the renters. Under the CDC program, they actually have to fill out a form, present it to their landlord to justify the fact that their evictions can be stayed for until the end of December. I also wanted to let people know that the Palm Beach County Community Services has posted on their website that on October 7th, they will be opening up their utility and rental assistance program again. If you recall, at the beginning of September, they had shut it down to do a little bit of catch-up, but they are opening again on October 7th. And that ends the finance report. Back to you, Ms. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Sherman. Next, we will have our legal department, Ms. Nguyen.
Good evening, everyone. The governor issued Executive Order 20-246, which provides an additional 1-month period for local governments to conduct their meetings virtually. As you all know, the city manager and city council has decided that our meetings will begin in person this month. However, the local governments should prepare to meet in person as required by Florida law beginning November 1st. What this really means is that we have the ability this month to conduct our meetings, if we need to, both virtually and in person. Also, as Mr. Sherman just stated, and I'm just going to give you a little more information, the governor allowed his executive order number 20-211 to expire. Again, that's the executive order that provided for mortgage foreclosure and eviction relief. And as Mr. Sherman stated, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention recently enacted a nationwide residential eviction order that provides federal eviction relief for people who submit a valid declaration to their landlord of their inability to pay rent. And the CDC's eviction order expires on December 31st of this year unless it's further extended. The governor's position was that since the CDC had an eviction order, the state order wasn't necessary. And that is all from the legal section. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nguyen. Next, we'll have Mr. Tony Parziale with Information Technology.
Good evening. Thank you, Ms. Smith. Good evening, Council. Good evening, Mr. Evans. From IT, we're certainly coming back to a full operation where we're seeing less home network issues. One of the things we have noticed over these 8 months is the impact on equipment of cleaning with a variety of disinfectants. And, probably the biggest casualty for us has been employee time clocks, where they get sprayed on the surface, and we've been sending quite a few of those out. And of course, it's an inconvenience for the department because when that clock goes down, it services a department, and it could be a large number of staff members. The other casualties we've been seeing from disinfectant spraying is keyboards and mice and touch screens. Other than that, certainly reiterate what I do just about every call, and that's, be careful out there online. There's a lot of phishing scams going on. We caught one this week with trying to pretend they were Office 365 and Microsoft and wanted people to click a link and put their credentials in because their Microsoft account was expiring. That's not typically the way Microsoft changes passwords, and so we just need to be careful on that. And, there are other threats that are out there as well. And, certainly companies, we're expecting all of our partners to continue with information security as a top priority and making sure that our data is safe and secure if we're doing business with them. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Parziale. Next, we will have our elected officials' comments and remarks, and we will start with Dr. Botel.
Thank you. I just want to thank staff and administration again for all the hard work they put in, and we really appreciate it. Stay safe, everybody, and thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Botel. Next, we'll have Councilperson Miller Anderson.
Good evening, everyone. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. I was having some trouble earlier. I just want to say thank you again, just reiterate what Dr. Botel just stated, all of the hard work that you all have done. I know it's been, we're dealing with various issues all at the same time, but I truly appreciate the administration and all of the employees for putting in the hard work to continue to have our city move forward. And also, I look forward to us being able to get back in person with our meetings. It is certainly my hope that we can remain in there and are able to continue with our social distancing and maintaining our safety as well as our employees. So I'm pretty excited about being able to get back into the building or a building so that we're able to have our meetings. So with that, that's all I have for today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilperson Miller Anderson. Next, we will have Councilwoman Lanier.
Yes, hi. I still would like to thank the staff for their hard work. I'd also like to tell the public that to be very careful because even though we are going into phase 3, this virus is still very, very present. We have to be very vigilant. We have to understand that it is our community that is hit the hardest, and that we have to make sure that we stay safe, keep our mask on, and of course, continue to be tested. I just wanted to say that Jay's ministry has testing every Tuesday and Thursday from 9 to 5. That's every Tuesday and Thursday. The results come back in about 2 days. So I encourage anyone, everyone actually, to at least have a test once a month so that you know what your status is and how to protect yourself. Once again, thank the staff and thank the City of Riviera Beach employees for their hard work. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Lanier. Did we have any other elected officials to join the line after the roll call?
Yes, Councilman Doug Lawson is here.
Yes, go ahead, sir. You have the floor.
Thank you so much. And as my colleagues have stated, I just want to thank the staff as well because we've received constant communication and updates from staff. Everyone on the team has been diligent about protecting our community, updating our community, and keeping the community still engaged while we go through a crisis that this world has never experienced. So I truly want to commend our staff for the efforts and energy they put in. I want to remind all my residents, as Councilwoman Lanier just stated, please remain safe. Even though it looks like the world is opening up again, please just know this virus has not gone anywhere. And I want us to remember to October 5th, please register to vote. If you have not registered to vote yet, please register, complete the census, and make sure that we make our voices heard and make sure that you get out there and vote by November 3rd. Early voting starts, I believe, October 15th. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And Ms. Pendle, were you able to connect? Okay, Mr. Evans, I'm going to go ahead and turn the meeting back over to you for the closing remarks.
Oh, I'm here. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Good afternoon, or good evening, actually, community. Sorry, I had some technical issues getting on. I hope everyone is well and safe. And as we approach are in the midst of our hurricane season, so we're being diligent about making sure we have all the supplies necessary. And in case something happens, we have adequate masks available for our staff and have ramped up some of our protocols for the reopening and the public to be able to visit City Hall as well as other city facilities. This concludes my report, and I turn it back over to you, Ms. Noel.
Thank you. Mr. McCoy, did you join?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Thank you, staff, and I want to echo the comments I've heard from the other members. I wanted to ask Mr. Sherman if there was any update on where we are with the number of delinquent accounts that I know we heard of for, I believe it was the briefing in the month of September as it relates to utility accounts, if he has any information on that.
I don't tonight, but I certainly can check on those numbers in the morning and provide them to the manager so they can be disseminated to the council.
Okay, but Mr. Sherman, just from perhaps something you've come across, I know the numbers were pretty, we had a pretty reasonable amount of individuals paying their water utility bills, but there were some outstanding. I mean, do you know what was the trend? Did most of those folks kind of like, at least attempt payment, make contact with the office? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, they have been making contact with the office. By the end of August, we were just around 200 delinquent accounts. I'm having a feeling, though, that due to the fact that the county suspended their assistance program, the numbers probably climbed in September. But I'd want to get you the actual numbers as of the end of the month, if you can give me till tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sherman. I only mentioned that because, along with the, expiration of the governor's eviction, there was also a news report that FPL is beginning service disconnections for those that were past due, and they're simply asking for residents that were behind to reach out to them. But if you don't hear, if they don't hear from you, they are continuing disconnections. So I just wanted to kind of get an idea of where we are and let folks know that if you have past due electric utilities, that you need to reach out to Florida Power and Light to work out some sort of payment agreement, because, it was stated today on the morning news that they're starting utility disconnections for past due electric. So that's all I have. I just was very curious about where we are with utility payments, and I'm glad to know that the county is going back forward. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, administration, for the updates. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any other elected officials that have joined the line? Okay, Mr. Evans, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith and members of the council for your support. None of this is able to be done without the support of your elected leadership and your commitment to supporting staff as we've gone through this. So we certainly appreciate the support and the leadership and the guidance that you have all provided us. To Councilman McCoy's point, we operate the same way as FPL is. If you contact us, we will work out an arrangement and services would not be disrupted. So if there are individuals that are have received any notice from the city, please make it a point to contact us as quickly as possible. And we are very we're more than accommodating to work out an appropriate payment arrangements to ensure that your service remains active throughout this pandemic. We want to make sure we work with the community. But again, to also Councilperson Lanier's comments and Councilperson Lawson's comments, is the virus is still here. We still need to be careful. We anticipate the numbers to go up, but we are going to watch this as best as we possibly can and do everything to safeguard our community. So again, thank you for everyone being on the call. Thank you for the work of staff, and thank you to our community for the continued support. And that concludes this evening's update.
Thank you.